That was loud. Let's talk about serial killers. This is my co-host. So I researched the Green River Killer. She fell. So I researched the Green River Killer, also known as Gary Leon Ridgway. Gary was born February 18th, 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He moved to Oregon and finished out high school there. All of the murders took place in Oregon, obviously. His parents are Mary and Thomas Ridgway. He had 2 older brothers. He initially got his name, the Green River Killer, because his first few victims were found either in or near the Green River, which, like, yeah, that makes sense. He was mostly known for luring away either vulnerable runaways or sex workers, where he would literally just straight up strangle them and then dump their bodies into wooded areas. He was caught in Washington State, Oregon, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole at the Washington State Penitentiary. In the end, he confessed to killing 42 women, but he could have killed up to 70. So yeah. So what's wrong with our friend Gary here? You don't exactly kill 42 people for fun, right? So, fun fact, there's technically nothing wrong with him. He was never officially diagnosed with anything. Investigators said that he didn't fit into a specific category, which I can definitely see why. The only thing that they knew that he had was a lower IQ. His IQ was somewhere in the 80s. Obviously, for the sake of this project, I did try to diagnose him with something. I tried to diagnose him with antisocial personality disorder, also known as ASPD. I later found out that the investigators did try to diagnose him with ASPD. He didn't meet, like, the requirements for it. And again, I definitely see why, because while he does meet some of the qualities, like egocentrism, lack of empathy, manipulativeness, like deceitfulness, hostility, he does meet those traits. It's just that those traits don't really carry into other parts of his life. He also contradicts himself a lot. With the lack of empathy, he didn't really care about the people that he killed. So in that moment, it's very plain to see that he doesn't really care about what he did, and he doesn't feel sorry about what he did. So there is definitely a lack of empathy with that. However, he then later contradicted himself by saying that any media made about him, any books, any movies, that any of the money that those pieces of media made should be given to the families of the victims that he killed. I don't know. Do with that information what you will. I tried. To wrap all this up, I'm going to talk about what I would characterize him as. Honestly, I struggled with this as well because, again, Gary contradicts himself a lot, much to my dismay. I would honestly place him in the hedonistic. I would honestly place him in the hedonistic category. He found a lot of enjoyment and pleasure out of getting away with murdering these people and becoming good at it, and he took, like, great care to make sure that he wouldn't get caught. He made elaborate plans to place and then move the bodies later to create false trails and cover up his tracks. He would leave cigarette butts and gum at the crime scenes, and he never chewed gum or smoked. It was just to throw people off. He wore gloves to all of his dates, and he would often get women to trust him by using pictures of his son. He also had sexual intercourse with dead bodies, not because he thought it was, like, more pleasing or anything. He just thought that if he did it with, like, a live person, then the police would be able to use that person to, like, trace something back to him. And lastly, I'm gonna read some quotes from my friend Gary here, just to really put it in perspective. "Choking is what I did," he boasted to investigators, "and I was pretty good at it." Okay, Gary. Also, just a little bit of context. After Gary would kill these women, if they were wearing any jewelry, he would take the jewelry and then he would place it in, like, gas station bathrooms. And when he was asked about it, he said, "My favorite thing was maybe if someone's walking around with a piece of that jewelry that they found in the bathroom." Okay, Gary. And the last quote that I have from our friend Gary is, "I look like an ordinary person," he said. "Here's a guy, he's not really muscle-bound. He doesn't look like a fighter, he's just an ordinary John, and that was their downfall. My appearance was different from what I really was." Okay, Gary. In conclusion, Gary Ridgway is a very strange case. And he's kind of interesting in his own way. But I think I have learned enough about him. I think I'm throwing in the towel. Thank you.